the grace of Allah, by the grace of Allah, even the darkest night will end, and the sun will rise and shine, and the sun will rise and shine.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen. Amma ba'd, fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulallah, wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Habiballah. As-salatu wassalamu alayka ya Nabiyallah, wa ala alika wa ashabika ya Nurallah. MashaAllah. Viewers of Madani Channel, welcome to the UK morning show, Rise and Shine. And I hope we've all risen and we're all shining on this beautiful day. Today, again, we've got an interesting topic, and hopefully, if you stay tuned, I'm hoping that we will learn something. But as you know, when you watch Rise and Shine, before we begin, we give you a blessing of reciting Durud Pak upon the Prophet of Allah, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. The Prophet of Allah, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, is reported to have said, "Beautify your gatherings by reciting Durud and Salat upon me, because the Salat that you recite upon me will be Noor for you on the day of judgment." Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Viewers of the channel, please make a habit, and we keep on saying this, please make a habit of reciting Durud Pak, make it part of your routine, make it become habitual upon it. At the same time, try and learn some of these blessings, pass them on to others so that other people can benefit from them as well. Before we introduce the topic of the day, as you know, after listening to a blessing of reciting Durud Pak, we have the privilege and honor to listen to some verses of the Holy Quran. But before we listen to the verses of the Quran, I just want to mention something to you, viewers of the channel. That whenever the Quran Pak is recited, whenever the Quran is recited, then you should listen to it with respect. Yeah? And what happens is, normally in our houses, we turn the volume down because we think, oh, well, we can't listen to it in respect. Or what happens is sometimes we leave the Quran on and we go make a cup of tea, or we go and do something else. So either, if you are going to listen to the Quran, then listen to it with respect, listen to it attentively, and inshaAllah Azza wa Jal, you'll be rewarded. And this is part of the adab of listening to the Quran. Let's listen to some verses of the Holy Quran. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
A'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajeem.
میں اللہ تعالیٰ کی پناہ میں آتا ہوں شیطان مردود سے.
بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم.
اللہ کے نام سے شروع جو نہایت مہربان رحم والا.
یا ایہا الذین آمنوا اتقوا اللہ وابتغوا الیہ الوسیلۃ وجاہدوا فی سبیلہ لعلکم تفلحون.
اے ایمان والو، اللہ سے ڈرو اور اس کی طرف وسیلہ ڈھونڈو اور اس کی راہ میں جہاد کرو، اس امید پر کہ فلاح پاؤ.
ان الذین کفروا لو ان لهم ما فی الارض جميعا ومثله معه لیفتدوا به من عذاب یوم القیامة ما تقبل منهم وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ.
بے شک وہ جو کافر ہوئے جو کچھ زمین میں ہے سب اور اس کی برابر، اور اگر ان کی ملک میں ہو کہ اسے دے کر قیامت کے عذاب سے اپنی جان چھڑائیں تو ان سے نہ لیا جائے گا، اور ان کے لیے دکھ کا عذاب ہے.
يُرِيدُونَ أَن يَخْرُجُوا مِنَ النَّارِ وَمَا هُمْ بِخَارِجِينَ مِنْهَا وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ مُقِيمٌ.
دوزخ سے نکلنا چاہیں گے اور وہ اس سے نہ نکلیں گے، اور ان کو دوامی یعنی ہمیشہ ہمیشہ کی سزا ہے.
والسارق والسارقة فاقطعوا أيديهما جزاء بما كسبا نكالا من الله.
اور جو مرد یا عورت چور ہو تو ان کا ہاتھ کاٹو، ان کے کیے کا بدلہ اللہ کی طرف سے سزا.
واللہ عزیز حکیم.
اور اللہ غالب حکمت والا ہے.
فمن تاب من بعد ظلمه وأصلح فإن الله يتوب عليه.
تو جو اپنے ظلم کے بعد توبہ کرے اور سنور جائے تو اللہ اپنی مہر سے اس پر رجوع فرمائے گا.
إن
बेशक अल्लाह बख्शने वाला मेहरबान है।
ألم تعلم أن الله له ملك السماوات والأرض يعذب من يشاء ويغفر لمن يشاء।
क्या तुझे मालूम नहीं कि अल्लाह के लिए है आसमानों और जमीन की बादशाही, सजा देता है जिसे चाहे और बख्शता है जिसे चाहे।
والله على كل شيء قدير।
और अल्लाह सब कुछ कर सकता है।
صدق الله العظيم।
Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Viewers of Madani Channel, I hope that you had the spiritual uplift that I felt peace by just listening to some verses of the Holy Quran. And what a beautiful recitation, and also the translation was from the Kanzul Iman, the Urdu translation of the Quran. And again, I've mentioned it before, but please try and get a copy of this in your households. The English copy is available, but it's only available from our website at the moment, that you can download it, inshallah azza wa jal. In the very near future, it'll be in the book form as well. What are we going to talk about today? Well, today, you know, there's a saying in English, you sound like a broken record. Yeah? And nowadays, probably some of our younger viewers won't even know what a record is. Before, you know, we had CDs and MP3s, and we had all of these memory sticks and everything, USB memory sticks. There used to be audio tapes and records. And records used to be these vinyl discs. You know, there was a 12-inch and there was a 7-inch. And what would happen is if the record broke, because it was made out of plastic, a vinyl, if there was a scratch on the record, then when you would play the record, it would keep on saying the same thing. So, for example, it would say, for example, it would say, for example, it would say, for example. And it would sound, and you would know when that was being repeated, it would say, it sounds like a broken record. So there's a saying in English that you sound like a broken record. And today, maybe you may say that, brother, you sound like a broken record, because what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about something that basically we do talk a lot about. But the reason why we talk a lot about is because the problem is so extensive that it needs talking a lot about. At the moment, you see in society that what's happening is because of the virus, every day the news is about the virus. The news is about the virus continuously. This infection rate, that amount of people, this is happening, that's happening. In the same way, viewers of Madani Channel, there's a certain issues within our deen that we need to constantly talk about. And the reason why we constantly talk about these issues is so that sooner or later the penny drops. Sooner or later something will happen and it'll become a change in your hearts. And what we're talking about today is we're talking about our namaz. And what we're talking about today is we're going to talk about those pious people, those God-fearing people of the past, how they used to read the namaz. And hopefully, from listening to their lives, listening to how they read the namaz, hopefully we'll develop some enthusiasm inside ourselves and develop some mindset inside ourselves that when we are reading namaz, what should our state be when we're reading namaz? And hopefully we're going to learn something from their lives so that we can use it today and make a better tomorrow. So let's, inshallah, we'll listen a little bit about that later on. But at the moment, viewers of Madani Channel, as you know, that after we've listened to some verses of the Holy Quran, we go to listen to the kalam of the day. Let's go and listen to the kalam of the day. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
तुम्हारा नाम मुसीबत में जब लिया होगा, हमारा बिगड़ा हुआ काम बन गया होगा, हमारा बिगड़ा हुआ काम बन गया होगा। गुनाहगार पे जब लुत्फ आपका होगा, गुनाहगार पे जब लुत्फ आपका होगा, किया बगैर किया किया होगा, किया बगैर किया किया دستگیر ضرور خدا کا لطف ہوا ہوگا دستگیر ضرور جو گرتے گرتے تیرا نام لے لیا ہوگا جو گرتے گرتے تیرا نام لے لیا ہوگا ہمارا بگڑا ہوا کام بن گیا ہوگا دکھائی جائے گی محشر میں شان محبوبی دکھائی جائے گی محشر میں شان محبوبی کہ آپ ہی کی خوشی آپ کا کہا ہوگا کہ آپ ہی کی خوشی آپ کا کہا ہوگا ہمارا بگڑا ہوا کام بن گیا ہوگا خدائے پاک کی چاہیں گے اگلے پچھلے خوشی خدائے پاک کی چاہیں گے اگلے پچھلے خوشی خدائے پاک کی چاہیں گے اگلے پچھلے خوشی خدائے پاک خوشی ان کی چاہتا ہوگا خدائے پاک خوشی ان کی چاہتا ہوگا ہمارا بگڑا ہوا کام بن گیا ہوگا کوئی کہے گا دہائی ہے یا رسول اللہ کوئی کہے گا دہائی ہے یا رسول اللہ کوئی کہے گا دہائی ہے یا رسول اللہ تو کوئی تھام کے دامن مچل گیا ہوگا تو کوئی تھام کے دامن مچل گیا ہوگا ہمارا بگڑا ہوا کام بن گیا ہوگا کوئی قریب ترازو کوئی لبے کوثر کوئی قریب ترازو کوئی لبے کوثر کوئی صراط پہ ان کو پکارتا ہوگا کوئی صراط پہ ان کو پکارتا ہوگا کہیں گے اور نبی اذهبوا الی غیری کہیں گے اور نبی اذهبوا الی غیری کہیں گے दर का भिखारी हूँ फज़ले मौला से, मैं उनके दर का भिखारी हूँ फज़ले मौला से। हसन फ़कीर का जन्नत में बिस्तरा होगा, हसन फ़कीर का जन्नत में बिस्तरा होगा।
सल्लू अलल हबीब सल्लल्लाहु ताला अला Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Viewers of my channel, I hope you enjoyed that kalam as much as we did. It gave me that peace that I think we all need every single day. That listening to them words, them spiritual words, listening to the Quran, listening to the Quran, gives you that spiritual uplift, so we can face the problems of the day. Viewers of my channel, what are we talking about today? As mentioned earlier on, we're talking about something that we do talk a lot about, but today we're going to give you examples of individuals, how they used to read the namaz. We're going to talk about our namaz, our salah, but we're going to talk about the God-fearing people, how they read their namaz. And maybe when we are having a problem in reading our namaz, maybe we're having a problem in how we're doing our namaz, and maybe it's because we haven't got this mindset that the God-fearing people of the past had. And I'm going to give you an example now, talking about the spiritual exercises and acts of worship of the blessed companions of the beloved Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Sayyidina Jabir radiyallahu ta'ala stated, he said that once we went to a ghazwa, a battle, along with the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And on the way back, we passed by a mountainous area. And the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam ordered us to rest there. But because it was a mountainous area, the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam made an announcement that we're going to stay here, but we need some of us to stay on watch all night, because the enemy may attack us in the middle of the night. So who amongst you is going to stay on watch all night? And two companions stood up, a Muhajir and an Ansari companion. They both stood up and they humbly said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we would like to have this privilege. Please accept us. And they got ready to keep watch after taking the permission. So then all the rest of the companions, they rested. And then these two companions, they consulted with each other. And what they said is that what we will do is rather than both of us staying up all night, one of us stay up the night. One of us stays up the night and the other one will rest, and then halfway through the night we'll wake the other one up and the other one will have rest. That way at least we'll have half the night's rest, because obviously the next day they're going to be traveling as well. Seemed like a good idea at the time. So then what happens is, one of the companions, he starts having a rest. The Muhajir companion starts having a rest. And the Ansari companion, he got ready to keep watch. And after a short while of keeping watch, he started to offer his salah. And when he started to offer his salah, he started to recite Surah Al-Kahf. And an enemy at this time came and climbed onto a hilltop, and he saw that this one person was offering the salah. So they took out the bow, he took out his bow and arrow, and he released an arrow, and the arrow entered the body of the person, the Ansari companion who was reading his salah. Now this companion who was reading his salah, he didn't flinch. He carried on reading his salah. So this enemy, what he did is he drew another arrow. He drew a second arrow, and the second arrow he flung, and again the second arrow entered the body of this Ansari companion again. But again, he continued with his namaz. This person then offered a third arrow. He sent a third arrow into this body, into this companion of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when this third arrow entered into the body of this companion of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this Ansari companion, he quickly offered his salah, ruku, sujood, and he gave his salah, and he woke up his companion. He woke up his companion, and when his companion woke up and stood up, and this enemy that was on the hilltop, he then realized that this person was not alone. He then realized that he had people with him, and so then he fled, he ran off. And the Muhajir companion asked his companion, Ansari companion, that, what has happened to you? Why did you not wake me up? When the first arrow entered you, you should have brought your namaz and woke me up so I could have defended you. And he said that, I started reciting the surah in my salah, and I did not want to give up that surah. I didn't want to finish my namaz in the middle of that surah, so I felt compelled to continue reading a namaz. And he said, well, but the arrows were coming in. He said, well, I felt ashamed that how can I possibly break my namaz? And he said, and when the third arrow entered me, I got scared to the extent that I thought, if I lose my life, not because of my salah, I lose my life because I have not fulfilled my responsibility. So if it was not for the responsibility and the promise that we had given to the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then I would have happily stood in salah until all these arrows entered my body and I passed away. But because the fear of not fulfilling the responsibility that I was given, I decided to shorten my namaz and wake you up. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. And our namaz nowadays, viewers of Madani Channel, you know, when we look at our namaz nowadays, we're distracted by little things, you know. We're in a room and we're reading our namaz, and someone will come into the room and mistakenly they'll put the TV on, and we'll be looking at what's on the TV, you know. We'll be reading our namaz and someone puts some bills on the table. We're looking at the bills. Oh no, gas bill. I'll sort it out. You know, we get distracted so easily. So easily we get distracted. You know, and then our phone rings and we're in our mind, we're thinking, who could it ring? I wonder who's rang me. I hope it's not important. Could be them, couldn't it? What if it's that person? Yeah, but okay, but it could, yeah, I don't know. And our mind, rather than being in namaz, and our minds have now transferred to the phone. Our minds and hearts need to be present. Yeah? But what happens is our minds and hearts wander here, there, and everywhere. And again, we get distracted so easily. And then we wonder why we've not got that comfort in our minds, why we've not got that peace in our minds, why we've not got that serenity in our lives. When we're reading our namaz, we hear there and everywhere. And I've even heard to the extent, I've not witnessed this, viewers of Madani Channel. I've not witnessed this, but I've been told this. That during the Salatul Tarawih, there'll be youngsters they'll be in the namaz, and they'll be like this. They've got their phones. So they're in the namaz like this, and whilst they're in the namaz, they're messaging each other. Yeah? Whilst they stood up in namaz, they're messaging each other. And then you say to yourself, what is going on here? You know, if this is what our namaz is. And then we wonder why we are facing the problems that we are facing, that our namaz is like this. That our namaz is almost, you could say it's almost just an exercise. It's just, you know, making the move, so to speak. You're not actually really being in your namaz. You may be reciting Surah Fatiha, you may be reciting Surah Ikhlas, but your mind is elsewhere, your heart is elsewhere, your interests are elsewhere, you're thinking about something else, and it's just become actually parrot fashion that you're reciting this. And it becomes almost robotic that you're doing this routine of reading your namaz. But then even then, because we're not concentrating on our namaz, then our namaz, we're not even doing it properly. We're not doing our ruku properly, we're not doing our sujood properly. And as a result of that, then that time could be wasted time. It's narrated, viewers of Madani Channel, that Sayyidina Huzaifa bin Yaman radiyallahu ta'ala saw a person who would not perform ruku and sujood completely during his salah. He said to him, if you die whilst offering salah in the way that you have just offered, you will not die in accordance with the teachings of the beloved Rasul sallallahu ta'ala wasallam. And it is also narrated that he went on to say, for how long have you been offering the salah like this? And the person replied, for 40 years. And he said, you have not offered any salah at all for 40 years. And if you die in the same state, you will not die in the religion of the beloved Rasul sallallahu ta'ala wasallam. All viewers of Madani Channel, normally we talk about those people who don't read the salah. But then there's a good portion of us that read our salah, but then our salah is not valid, our salah is not accepted. And we've been told here that that person had been offering the salah in that manner for 40 years, and he was told that you have not offered any salah at all in 40 years. And you see these people that, you know, when they go into sajda, when you go into sajda and you come up, you're supposed to straighten your back. But you get people that literally, the nose will leave the ground no more than 6 inches and they go back into sajda again. And why can we not spend that extra few seconds? I'm not asking for minutes and hours here. I'm not asking for days of effort here. It's literally a few seconds of extra effort to make your namaz acceptable. And so it's very important, viewers of Madani Channel, that we need to learn how to offer our namaz properly. We need to realize that what are the mistakes that we're making in our namaz. And you may think, well, I learned it. Yes, you did. I'm not doubting that. You did learn how to read your namaz. But how old were you then? Yes, you were at a young age, 10, 12, 8, whatever it was, you learned it. You went to the madrasa, you went to the masjid, the Qari Sahib came to your house, your mum taught you, or whatever, somebody taught you your namaz. But now, 20 years on, 15 years on, 30 years on, 50 years on, mistakes develop. You know, have you ever, you know, you may have been driving. You know, I've been I passed my test over 30 years ago. But if I was asked to take a driving test again, I would be afraid that I'd fail the test. Because what happens is normally bad habits come into your life, yeah? If you're driving, then they say to you, you've got to have the 10 to 2 position, your hands need to be here, and this is what you need to do. You need to be looking at the mirror, then you need to change the gear and put your hand back. But what happens is habits come in, bad habits come in. You'll be driving like this, your one arm's like this, yeah? You don't bother looking at the mirror very often, yeah? You change the gear at the wrong speed, you're racing, you're slowing, you brake harshly, whatever it is, because you've passed your test now. And so these bad habits develop. In the same way, viewers of Madani Channel, our namaz, over a period of time, bad habits will develop, mistakes will come in. Because what happens is, those people, if you are amongst those people, that from the moment you were taught namaz, you have not missed a single salah from then till now. You were taught namaz at the age of 9. At the age of 9, you were told to read your namaz. If from the age of 9, you started reading your namaz and you have not missed a single namaz from then till now, then there is a good chance you will not be making any mistakes. But then the majority of us, years go by where we don't read our namaz. And then all of a sudden Allah Azza wa Jal gives us the ability to read our namaz. All of a sudden we get this fear inside us that we're getting older now, we're getting closer to the grave now, that I need to sort myself out now. So you think, you know what, I'm going to start reading my namaz now. And you start reading it, but what about that 10 years that you've not read your namaz? You know, what about the mistakes that now you could be making? And we see, unfortunately, viewers of Madani Channel, we see people that have completely forgot how to read the namaz. I remember once, we were in a Madani Qafla, and part of the Madani Qafla routine is to go out and meet people on the streets, meet people where they are, and invite them to the masjid. And it happens normally between Salatul Asr and Salatul Maghrib. So at Salatul Asr in the masjid, we invite the congregation to come out with us, to invite people. Because when you go to a new area, you don't know the area, and you invite them. And you go out, and you go to people's houses, you go to where people are hanging out, on street corners where youngsters are hanging out. And I remember one Madani Qafla that we were on. And, you know, there was a park. There was a park there. And as we were going past the park, we saw that there was a lot of young lads there. And the Amir Qafla, he said to us that, look, we need to go in here. We need to talk to these people and invite them to the masjid. I need to get a bit of sip of tea. Now I want you to picture the scene here, viewers of Madani Channel. These were young lads in the masjid. It was summer, I remember that. Some of them had the string vests on, they had the gold chains on, they had the earrings on, they had the dogs on the chains, big chains and everything. So you can picture the scene of what sort of people we're talking to. So we started talking to them. We started to talk to them and make them aware that, look, life is very, very short. You know, before we even know it, that time will come where we'll enter that dark and lonely grave. Started giving them a call to righteousness, tried to invite them to the masjid. And they weren't really listening. But you could see that maybe one or two were. And towards the end, we said to them, who amongst you wants to come with us? Comes with us and shows this area and also come to us to the masjid. And the majority of them sniggered. But one young lad, he said, I'll come with you. I'll come with you. So we said, okay. And the other said, what are you doing? You know, well, you're stupid. Why are you going with these guys? And he said, look, I've got nothing else better to do. And the masjid's near my house. So effectively, I'm walking towards my home. So that was the excuse he kind of gave to them. But something had happened in his heart. So because this young brother was English speaking, he didn't understand Urdu or Punjabi or anything like that. The Amir Qafla, he said to me, look, you walk with him. From here to the masjid, you stay by him, you talk to him, you call him to the path of righteousness, you make him come to the masjid. It's your responsibility. Fair enough. So I'm walking with this young lad. And this young lad, after 5 minutes, he said to me, he said, brother, what you see is not me. And I thought to myself, why is he saying that? And I said to him, look, have I said anything to you? Have I offended you in any way? Or have I looked at you in a weird way that makes you feel offended by, that I've offended you of your look? I don't think I have, but if I have, I apologize. He said, no, you've not looked at me in a weird way. You've not said anything to me, but I just want you to know. And I said to him, okay. I went quiet. Then he said to me, the reason why I'm like this is because if I'm not like this, then I have no friends. Which again scared me. And I'm telling you now, this viewers of Madani Channel, this is probably, maybe 15 to 20 years ago, and I can picture it in front of me, that there are people out there that because they've not got the friends that they want to have, because there are no other alternatives. They don't want to be in that society. They don't want to be in that environment because there's no other alternatives. Then what happens is they become like them. And I said, it's no problem. It's okay. Don't worry. We're your friends. Alhamdulillah, we're here. Insha'Allah. We'll go to the masjid now. We'll read our namaz. After the namaz, we'll sit down. We'll have something to eat. Don't worry. Don't worry about anything. Yeah? So I tried to comfort him. So we get to the masjid. Time for Salatul Maghrib. And after Salatul Maghrib, there is a speech. And I can't remember whether I made the speech or you made it. I can't remember that. But anyway, we perform Salatul Maghrib. The speech takes place. And then after that, we sit down and we talk to each other. And that brother, he called me to one side. He said, I want to have a word with you. I said, okay. Called me to one side. Now, he was possibly 30 years of age. Yeah? And he said to me that this is my local masjid. This is my local. And this is the first time I've come here for as far as I can remember. I cannot remember the last time I came to this masjid. And yet this is my local masjid. And he also said that, brother, I have something I need to admit to you. I said, what? He said, you know when we read the namaz? He said, I did the actions. I went to ruku, sajda, I stood up, I followed you. Right? But I've forgotten everything. I've forgotten everything. I've forgotten Surah Fatiha, I've forgotten everything. Okay, no problem, brother. It's okay, don't worry. Don't worry. Brother, come here. I called him the brother. Sit down with him. I said, he will teach you the namaz and he'll give you the book of namaz. And in the book of the namaz, you'll be able to read the Arabic there and you'll be able to memorize it again. And he looked at me with a glum face. I said, what's up? He said, I forgot how to read Arabic. No problem, no problem. Don't worry, inshallah. Another brother, we said to him that, look, you sit with him and start teaching him namaz. Don't give him a book, you teach him. You be the one that teaches him. Fair enough, they said. So gradually, he started to read the namaz. The point I'm starting to make, and alhamdulillah, after that, he learned his namaz, and alhamdulillah, I pray that if that person is amongst us, that he is habitual in reading his namaz and he stayed away from the ills of society and he's protected himself. But the point I'm trying to make, viewers of Madani Channel, is that over a period of time, if a person, because when we asked him, he'd been to that masjid, he'd been to that madrasa, he'd learnt his namaz there, he'd learnt how to read his Quran there. But over a period of time, and he was not in his 70s or 80s now, he was probably 20s, mid-20s, maybe 25, 27, something like that. Maybe he left the madrasa when he was 12, 13, so maybe 15 years. 15 years of not reading his namaz. And he completely forgot it. Now, if a person can completely forget the namaz in 15 years, completely forget Surah Fatiha in 15 years, then what can happen to us when we've not read our namaz for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? Is there not a risk that we could also forget how to recite Surah Fatiha? Is there not a risk that we can forget how to go into our ruku properly, how to go into our sujood properly, how to read our namaz properly? Is that not a risk there? And if we are honest with ourselves, then we will realize, yes, there is a risk there. There is a chance that we could be reading our namaz incorrectly. And if you are reading your namaz incorrectly, then like the example that I mentioned, where this person said to him, that if you die whilst you're offering that salah the way that you have just offered, you will not die in accordance with the teachings of the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he went on to say that because he'd been doing it for 40 years, he said, you have not offered any salah at all in 40 years. And if you die in the same state, you will not die on the religion of the beloved Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know, our iman is the most precious gift that we've got. Out of all the assets that you have in the world, that gold that you have, you may have diamonds, you may have property, you may have cars, you may have businesses, you may have all of these things, but the most precious thing that you have is your iman. And as a Muslim, the one thing that we have to protect, we put guards outside our houses, we put alarm systems, CCTV systems, all sorts of systems to protect our wealth. What do you do to protect your iman? A Muslim is successful if he dies with his iman. A Muslim is not successful if he dies with £1 million. A Muslim is not successful if he dies with a huge bank balance and a portfolio of 40, 50, 60 properties. That is not success. Our success is dying with our iman. And if we are told that if we have not been reading our namaz properly, we're not even talking now about those people that don't read the namaz at all. Now that's a different story. If we're not reading our namaz properly, then we run the risk of dying without our iman. Please, viewers of my channel, think about this and reflect on this. Fear Allah Azza wa Jal, because that time will surely come. That time will surely come where we will pass away. That time will surely come that we will be in that dark and lonely grave. And if we do not go in that dark and lonely grave with our iman, if we do not have that iman with us when we die, viewers of my channel, then that punishment, the punishment that we will face, our minds cannot comprehend it. It's beyond our comprehension, the punishment we will face. Viewers of my channel, you've been watching Arise and Shine. We're just going to take a small break now. We're going to go to the reminder of the day, inshaAllah. When we come back, inshallah, we'll continue talking about this. But please stay tuned and hopefully we can learn something and develop this mindset of how we need to read our namaz. Let's go to the reminder of the day. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
By the grace of Allah, by the grace of Allah.
My dear Islamic brothers, we should all develop the mindset to keep Nawafil fasts. There is so much reward and countless worldly and spiritual benefits in keeping voluntary fasts. For example, the protection of faith and the protection from hell and the attainment of paradise. Fasting produces a healthy mind and body and also protects us from many, many diseases. The Prophet ﷺ has stated that the fast and the Holy Quran will intercede for people on the Day of Judgment. The fast will say, "O merciful Allah Azza wa Jal, I prevented him from eating and satisfying his desires during the day. Accept my intercession in his favor." The Holy Quran will say, "I prevented him from sleeping at night. Accept my intercession for him." Their intercession will be accepted.
By the grace of Allah, by the grace of Allah.
Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Viewers of Madani Channel, you're watching Arise and Shine, the morning show. And today, we're talking about a topic that we do talk about literally all the time. Because whatever topic we talk about, whatever subject we talk about, we bring it back to the source, to the essence, to the roots, to the pillars of Islam. And one of the greatest pillars of Islam is our Salah. And today we're talking about the Salah of those people, the pious people of the past, the God-fearing people, of how they read the Salah. And we're also talking about some of the mistakes that we could make or maybe making and why we are making them and what we need to do to rectify ourselves. I'm going to give you a hadith of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. It's narrated, viewers of Madani Channel, that Sayyidina Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala has narrated that the beloved Rasul sallallahu ta'ala sallam came to the masjid. And a person came and he offered his salah, and then he went to the Prophet of Allah sallallahu ta'ala sallam and he gave salam to him. The beloved Rasul sallallahu ta'ala sallam replied to his salam and he said, "Go and offer your salah because you have not offered your salah correctly." The man went back and offered his salah in the same way. He then came to the beloved Rasul sallallahu ta'ala sallam again. And the beloved Rasul sallallahu ta'ala sallam replied to his salam and said, "Go and offer your salah again because you have not offered your salah." This happened 3 times. And after the 3rd time, the man humbly said, "By him who has sent you with the truth, I know the same salah, please teach me." And the beloved Rasul sallallahu ta'ala sallam said that when you stand for salah, say takbir, and then recite as much from the Holy Quran as much as you can recite easily, and then perform ruku calmly. Then raise your head from the ruku and stand up straight, and then perform sajda calmly, and then raise your head and sit calmly, and then complete the whole salah in the same way. Allahu Akbar. We'll all be listening to that thinking, yeah, okay. We do that. We do the takbir, we go into ruku, we stand up, we go into sajda. What's the problem? From this blessed hadith, viewers of my channel, it can be learned that it's wajib to repeat the salah to be a wajib being missed. And remember, sajda saw becomes wajib if a wajib is missed forgetfully during the salah, and if wajib is missed deliberately, then the repeating the salah becomes wajib. But what are these things? What are these things, that if you miss, they become wajib upon you? And it's also learnt that to offer our salah calmly is wajib upon us. Because the elderly man came after offering salah hastily. Therefore, he was asked to repeat his salah. That is, every time when he would come after offering salah, he would say salam, and then he would go back again. So we learned that as well, that we need to offer our salah calmly. And sometimes, what do we do? If we are honest, we need to be honest with ourselves here, viewers of the channel. When you're in the masjid, when you're there, when there's 200 people, 100 people, or even when there's Salat al-Fajr, there's only 3 or 4 people there, you offer your salah calmly. But when you're at home, you want to go somewhere. When you're at home, you want to go to bed. When you're at home, you want to eat something. When you're at home and your certain program is going to come on TV and you don't want to miss it. When you're at home and there's someone ringing you on your phone and you can hear the phone ringing, then what is our salah like? Is our salah the same as when we're in the masjid? When we're at home? What is our attire like? What are our clothes like when we're at home? You know, the adab, the respect that we give to the salah in the masjid, is it the same that we give at home? And if we're offering our salah hastily, then that's not a good thing as well. We need to calmly offer our salah as well. And we also learn from this views of Madani Channel that the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not teach the method of salah the very first time. When he came back and he made a mistake, he didn't teach him the first time. He could have taught him the first time. He could have said, hold on, wait a minute, I'll teach you the salah like this. He said no, he let him. And the reason is that this hikmah in this wisdom in this, that the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that he would then remember the event. He remembered the fact that he had to read his namaz 3 times and he still got it wrong. And then after that, he was rectified. And sometimes there is hikmah in this. The pious people of the past, that they would teach people like this. They would make people try and rectify themselves. And they would give them the opportunity to rectify themselves, make them aware that they made this fault. But if they didn't, they would give them the opportunity so that event would be remembered in their mind, and they would remember that this was the mistakes that we were making, and this is how it was rectified. So it puts an imprint on your mind. And again, this is a way of the people of the past, the good teachers even of today, that they teach you in this method as well. And it's also, we learn from this hadith of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that it's become offers that we should offer our salah with extreme calmness, without any haste. It has been stated in the blessed hadith that perform ruku with calmness, and stand up straight, raising your head from ruku. Then perform the sajda with calmness. Then sit calmly, raising your head from sajda. These are the things that we need to do. But unfortunately what happens is even in sajda we don't raise our head completely. In ruku, even in ruku, people literally go from the ruku position straight to the sajda position. They maybe leave the hands and they lift the backs up a little bit, and then they're going to sajda. Allama Maulana Mufti Muhammad Amjad Ali Azmi Rahmatullahi Ta'ala stated in Bahari Shariat that staying in ruku, sujood, qoma and jalsa, i.e. standing after ruku and sitting between the two sajdas for the amount of time in which subhanallah can be uttered at least once, is wajib. And sajda saw becomes wajib if someone forgets this. Allahu Akbar. How many of our namaz have we read where what has happened is we've raced it through? Yeah. We've not been calm in that between each sajda we've not paused for the amount of time in which subhanallah can be said. When we come up from our ruku, how long are we stay in that sitting position, that position that is straight? Or is it that our bodies are constantly moving throughout the whole of the namaz? That from the moment we go from standing into ruku, from that moment to the moment that we get back up again, after sajda, after the 2 sajda, our bodies are constantly moving. That's not what our namaz should be. And we told it's wajib upon us that we need to repeat the namaz if that's been happening. Even as I'm talking to you, viewers, I'm thinking, Allah forbid, have I made these mistakes? You also need to think, have I been making these mistakes? Have I been wishing my namaz? Have I been reading my namaz and thinking to myself that my namaz is accepted, but in reality it's not. In reality, I've not been reading my namaz properly. Is that the case? We need to do something about it, don't we? We need to make a change, viewers of my channel, before it's too late. We don't want to die in a state where none of our namaz has been accepted. We don't want to die in a state where our iman, we're going to die without our iman. We're not going to die on the teachings of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Is that how we want to die? And today's program really is more appropriate to our views, because what happens is when we try to talk about people that read namaz, and we're talking about to those people that are really not interested in the deen whatsoever. But I hope and I pray that those people that watch Madani Channel have some sort of an interest. Those people that are watching Rise and Shine have some sort of an interest in the deen. And I pray and I hope that a lot of these viewers read the namaz. But amongst the viewers who watch Madani Channel, amongst us, how many of us who read our namaz are reading it properly? If I was to do an analogy and say that out of the 100% of people, if we look at the Muslims in general, out of 100%, how many of them read the namaz? 5%, 4%, 3%, maybe even less. But out of the people that have been given the ability to watch religious channels, to watch Madani Channel, to watch the likes of this program that you're watching now, what is the percentage now? That percentage should be higher, shouldn't it? Because Allah Azza wa Jalla has given you the ability to be able to tune into Madani Channel, to listen to these sort of programs. So that percentage will be high. And let's say now that percentage is, and I pray to Allah Azza wa Jalla that I'm right, it's 70, 80, 90%. But amongst that 70, 80, 90% of people that are watching this program right now and they read the namaz, how many amongst them, let's even say it's 100%. Let's, for the sake of argument, say every single viewer that's watching this program now reads the namaz. Out of them, 100% of people that read the namaz, how many of them read the namaz properly? I wouldn't even like to guess. I'm afraid to guess. And the reason why I'm afraid to guess, because I'm afraid that if I guess and that figure that I guess is right, then it'll be very upsetting. But I'll leave that thought with you. I'll leave that thought with you that, where am I? In this equation that he's just mentioned, where am I? Is my namaz perfect? Is my namaz okay? Or Allah forbid, am I amongst those namaz, that people who read the namaz that I'm just reading my namaz? Dawat Islam is here for you, viewers of my channel. Dawat Islam is here to offer you a solution to these problems, inshaAllah. There's a brilliant book. First and foremost, I'm going to tell you that what you need to do is, there's a book that I want you to download. The Laws of Salah. Ahkam Namaz in Urdu, Laws of Salah in English, and I believe it's been translated into other languages as well. You must have that book in your house. You must have that book in your house. You must study that book. And that book is not just purely about the namaz, it's the blessings of Izan, how to read your namaz if you're a traveler, how to make up namazes that if you miss your namaz, the blessings of Jummah, the namaz-e-janazah, all of these things are in there. And also in that, at the end, when you do the Fatiha, when you do the Khatam, the Madani will of the Amir al-Sunnah, it's all in that book. It's such a treasure trove of knowledge that every household must have that book. And don't just have that book and put it on the shelf. Read that book. Read that book, not once, not twice, but continuously read that book. You know, people that travel on Madani Qaflas, part of the Madani Qafla routine, again, another thing, that as soon as the Madani Qaflas open up views of Madani Channel, I would advise you to travel in the way of Allah Azza wa Jal. The Madani Qaflas are an opportunity for you to learn how to rectify your namaz. And people that have been on these Madani Qaflas for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and you ask them, what are you learning? They say, on every Qafla, I learn something more about my namaz. I pick up something more, I pick up something more. So they're constantly fine-tuning the namaz. They're constantly perfecting the namaz. They're constantly improving the namaz. Whereas what we are like, we learned to read our namaz 40 years ago and we think, sorted. You know, your car needs to be tuned and maintained. Your namaz needs to be maintained and tuned even more, views of my channel. You need to look after your namaz, protect your namaz. So this Laws of Salah is the first thing. The second thing that you need to do is, like I said, travel in the way of Allah Azza wa Jalla, travel in the Madani Qaflas. And inshaAllah Azza wa Jalla, part of the Madani Qafla routine is to improve your namaz. The third thing, there are courses, 7-day courses on your Salah course, 7-day courses, online courses are being made available. Join these courses. And don't just join them once, continuously be on these courses, continuously learn. Because when someone's talking to you, when someone's lecturing you, then you don't pick up 100% of it. Yeah. And sometimes you have to listen to something 3 or 4 times to get the majority of it. And maybe you're not going to get that opportunity when you're on a course, but if you're constantly on a course, constantly learning and constantly improving, then inshallah, over a period of time, you'll pick this up. Viewers of the channel, we're just going to take a small break now. We're going to go to the daily hadith, the hadith of the day. Inshallah, when you come back, we're going to continue talking about this topic. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
By the grace of Allah, by the grace of Allah.
It is mentioned in Tirmizi, our beloved Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam has said, أكمل المؤمنين إيمانا أحسنهم خلقا وخياركم خياركم لنسائهم أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. The most complete in terms of faith are those who have the best character, and خياركم, the best among you, are those who are the best with their women, meaning their wives. So for us it's a lesson that if we want to be the best in terms of Iman, in terms of faith, then we have to adopt good character. Our character, our nature, our behavior should reflect the fact that we have adopted good character and learned from the prophetic way. And another reflection of being good or being among the best is that we are good with the women of our household, or in this respect, the wife. So if a husband is bad to his wife, or does not treat her well in any way, or does not fulfill her right, he cannot be from those who are considered the best among the people. There may be people who are apparently very religious. They have a religious outlook, religious appearance. They seem very good outside, but when they come home, they are completely different people. And it's a lesson for them especially, and for many others generally. Men must learn that true character or good character is seen or reflected outside of the home and within the home as well.
By the grace of Allah, by the grace of Allah.
Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. MashaAllah, that was our brother Qamar Madani, MashaAllah, one of our graduates from Jamiatul Madina. And here, like we said before, we have Jamiatul Madina in the UK. I would again advise you that if you can, avail these opportunities completely free of charge. Jamiatul Madina for brothers, Stratford, London, Luton, Birmingham, Leicester, Blackburn or Rochdale and Bradford. And for our sisters, London, Birmingham, Bradford, Bury and Blackburn. Please avail these opportunities and acquire this sacred knowledge so that we can pass it on to others as well. Before the break of Viewers of the Channel, we were talking about the book, A Method of Salah. And again, I would advise you all to please download that copy. And I would even be better if you can get a hard copy. Because when you got a hard copy, you know, maybe I'm old-fashioned. Maybe I'm old school, as they say. When you got a hard copy, you can open the book, you can make notes, you can highlight things. I know you can do it on your PC tablets. I do it, but it's just, I don't know, maybe it's just me. But whatever makes it easy for you, make notes, highlight the bits where you feel that you need to get it checked. Or if there's something that you don't understand in there, highlight them bits, go to a scholar and ask them to explain this bit, and make sure that you rectify your salah. I make the intention of reading that book again. Alhamdulillah, I have read it, but I make the intention of reading it again. You also please make this intention of downloading this book and reading this book. Not once, not twice, but continuously read this book and learn from this book. And what would be even better, as we mentioned, that when we talk about, you know, reciting the Holy Quran every day, 3 verses, if as a family, we can sit down and we can read this book collectively for 7 minutes. I'm asking for 7 minutes of your time. 7 minutes of your time to perform one of the Madani works of Dawat Islami, and that's the home dars. Sit at home with your family for 7 minutes and just read however many pages you can read in 7 minutes. 2 pages, 3 pages. Viewers of the channel, we're just going to go to a kalam now, inshallah. When we're going to come back, inshallah, we're going to talk about how Ala Hazrat would read his namaz. Let's go to the kalam of the day. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
नजर توجہ فرمائیں سرکار توجہ فرمائیں میں کب آنے سرکار پہ تن من جان فدا سرکار پہ تن من جان فدا سرکار پہ تن من جان فدا سرکار توجہ فرمائیں سرکار توجہ فرمائیں میں کر کے ستم اپنی جان پر قرآن سے جاؤں پڑھ کر آیا ہوں بہت شرمندہ آیا ہوں بہت شرمندہ سرکار توجہ فرمائیں سرکار توجہ فرمائیں
Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Viewers of Madani Channel, you're watching Rise and Shine. We're talking today about the Salah of the God-fearing people of the past, of how they would read the namaz, and hopefully we can learn some lesson from their lives. But we also mentioned earlier on the fact that, you know, the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he rectified individuals who were not performing the namaz correctly, and it's something that we need to be aware of. But I just want to mention something about the etiquettes of namaz, being ready for your namaz and how you should read namaz. Maulana Muhammad Hussain Chishti Nizami Fakri Rahmatullahi Ta'ala, who wrote the fatwas for Ala Hazrat Imam Ahmad Raza Khan Rahmatullahi Ta'ala for a few years, he has said that when Ala Hazrat Rahmatullahi Ta'ala offered his salah, he offered his salah throughout his whole life with jamaat. No matter how hot the temperature would be, he would always offer his salah wearing the imamah, and he also offered a garment that is worn over the kurta. He would make special arrangements even in the clothing for salah. He, Rahmatullahi Ta'ala, never offered especially obligatory salah wearing only a topi or a normal kurta. Maulana Muhammad Hussain Chishti Nizami Fakri Rahmatullahi Ta'ala further stated, the amount of care that Ala Hazrat would take whilst offering the salah is not seen these days. Listen to this. He said that I always offered 2 rakat in the same amount of time in which Ala Hazrat would offer 1 rakat. He then goes on to say, other people would offer at least 6 or maybe 8 rakat in the amount of time which I offered 4 rakat. So think about how Ala Hazrat would offer his namaz. Ala Hazrat, when it came for his namaz, he would make sure his imamah was right, he made sure his clothes were right, he made sure he had a cloak above his kameez, no matter how warm it was. And these were the adab and the respects and the etiquette that he had for his namaz. Ask yourself, what are we like when we're reading our namaz? What is our namaz like at that time? How are we reading our namaz? Are we reading our namaz in the same way, the same attire like I am now? Or would we not bother? We just got a t-shirt on, we got our vest on, forget the topi now, we're not in the masjid, forget this, forget the imam, it's okay, doesn't matter, just read your namaz. Again, think to yourself that you are in the court of Allah Azza wa Jalla. How should your namaz be? And think about this, viewers of my channel. We're just going to take a small break now for another little reminder, inshaAllah Azza wa Jalla. And when you come back, we're going to talk again about the pious predecessors, how they read the namaz, and about one particular individual who, when he was reading his namaz, what people thought they were seeing but what actually was going on. So let's stay tuned. Let's go to the break. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
My dear Islam brothers, today's piece of advice is regarding the zikr of Allah. Try to spend your day and night in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there are many benefits of being involved in the zikr of Allah. But at the same time, there are signs of loss and destruction for those who do not do the zikr of Allah. And this does not just occur with human beings, but even animals, when they are not involved in the remembrance of Allah, they get captured. And in regards to this, there is a very interesting story. Sayyidina Junaid Baghdadi rahmatullah alayhi was given a bird as a gift, and he put that bird in a cage and he kept that bird. After keeping for a while, Sayyidina Junaid Baghdadi rahmatullah alayhi let the bird go free. People said, Hazur, why did you let the bird go free? Sayyidina Junaid Baghdadi rahmatullah alayhi replied, he said, the bird pled with me. Oh Junaid, sorrow you receive joy with your friends, but you keep me locked up in this cage. And now keep me away from my friends, greeting my friends. Hazrat Sayyidina Junaid Baghdadi rahmatullah alayhi says that I felt sympathy for it and I let the bird go free. Whilst the bird was flying away, it said, birds or animals, as long as they are uttering the praise of Allah Azza wa Jalla, they are free. When they get careless, they get caught. Oh Junaid, I was careless of the remembrance of Allah Azza wa Jalla just for a short time, and look at his punishment that I got locked up in this cage. Imagine what would happen to all the people that are mostly negligent of the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh Junaid, I promise sincerely before you that I shall never again be negligent of the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Saying this, that bird flew away. And he's mentioned that that bird would come to do the ziyarah, would come to see Sayyidina Junaid Baghdadi rahmatullah alayhi, and would pick the seeds from the food mat of Sayyidina Junaid Baghdadi rahmatullah alayhi. When Sayyidina Junaid Baghdadi rahmatullah alayhi passed away, that bird also fell into the ground shaking and went cold dead. After the death of Sayyidina Junaid Baghdadi rahmatullah alayhi, someone saw Sayyidina Junaid Baghdadi rahmatullah alayhi in his dream and asked, how was Allah treating you? Sayyidina Junaid Baghdadi rahmatullah alayhi replied, because I had mercy on that bird, Allah Azza wa Jal also had mercy upon me. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. My dear Islam brothers, great pieces of advice can be taken from this little waqia. That birds, even animals, when they are away from the remembrance of Allah Azza wa Jal, they get caught. And if you just imagine and just think, today, we as humans, the best of the creations of Allah Azza wa Jal as humans, we are away from His remembrance, who has given us so much bounties, who has blessed us with so many blessings. And yet, we are away from His remembrance. Today, when someone goes into a difficulty, into a problem, he moves even away, more away from the remembrance of Allah. My dear Islam brothers, if we want our difficulties, our problems to be removed, then we should come closer, more closer to the remembrance of Allah. And inshaAllah, not only we will save ourselves from the difficulties of this dunya, but also inshaAllah, we will save ourselves from the difficulty of the afterlife. Keep yourself busy in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Try to spend your days and your nights in remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whether you are at home, whether you are at work, spend your time in remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, doing the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And inshaAllah, the more time which we spend in remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more this will benefit us. The pious people, rahimahumullah, they would consider each and every moment of their time valuable. When they would have to eat, they would feel sad that in this time we cannot remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because we are busy in eating. So my dear Islam brothers, we have so much time with us. Try to spend your time in the remembrance of the Creator, the Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal. May Allah Azza wa Jal give us the ability to remember Him as much as we can.
Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Viewers of Madani Channel, you're watching Rise and Shine. And today we're talking about the Salah of the people of the past and how we can learn from the lives. I mentioned just before the break that Allah Hazrat, He would make special arrangements for reading His namaz. You know, in the same way that you'd make a special arrangements if a certain guest was coming to your house. You'd make sure the place is tidy. You would make sure that you look your best. You know, if a special guest was coming to your house, you wouldn't come downstairs in your pajamas and open the door, would you? You'd put on some decent clothes. Yeah, you put on that. But just think to yourself that if you are presenting yourself in the court of Allah Azza wa Jal, okay, what should your attire be like? And we hear from the likes of Allah Hazrat Rahmatullah Ta'ala that they would make special arrangements that they would put on the Imam Sharif. They would make sure the Imam was there. They would make sure that they would wear the nice attire, and on top of that they would wear a cloak, no matter how hot it was. They would never miss the namaz with Jamaat. All of these things, viewers of Madani Channel, that I feel are lacking in the majority of us. That for a lot of us that read our namaz has become a tick in the box. Done it, done it, done it. No preparation for it, no thought going into it, no mindset that I'm going to read in my namaz. And worse still, what we do is oh, namaz has started, yeah, but I've got 2 hours left, yeah, hasn't it? Okay. I've got 1 hour left, okay. I've got 30, I've got 5, quickly, I better read my namaz, I've only got 5 minutes left. And again, because then with only 5 minutes left, 3 minutes left, okay, we've read our namaz. But in what state have we read our namaz? We've read our namaz in a state of haste rather than in a state of calmness, because we think, only got 2 minutes left, quickly read my namaz. And again, we should refrain from this views of Madani Channel. Sayyidina Abul Awas, Rahmatullahi Ta'ala, stated that a lady neighbor of Sayyidina Mansur bin Muta'amir, Rahmatullahi Ta'ala, asked her father, "Oh dear father, there was a piece of wood on the roof of Sayyidina Mansur bin Muta'amir, Rahmatullahi Ta'ala. Where is it gone?" And he replied, "Oh daughter, it was not a piece of wood, but rather it was Sayyidina Mansur, Rahmatullahi Ta'ala, who used to offer his salah in the night." Allahu Akbar. Sayyidina Ala bin Salim Abadi, Rahmatullahi Ta'ala, stated about him that Sayyidina Mansur bin Mut'amir would offer salah on his house, on his roof, and when he passed away, a boy asked his mother that there was a date trunk on the roof of so and so. "Where is it now?" And the mother replied, "Oh son, it was not a trunk, but rather a Sayyidina Mansur, Rahmatullahi Ta'ala, would offer his salah in that state, but now he has passed away." Allahu Akbar. What is our namaz like, viewers of Madani Channel? Do we offer our namaz in that state, or is our bodies constantly moving? Do our organs not get into a resting position because we're constantly on the move, And you see these videos of people that they're reading the namaz so fast that the mind boggles how they can actually recite anything, because the body is moving so fast. How can they concentrate on anything? It's like, doing a sprint where your body's not resting for a single second. Sayyidina Hatim Asim, Rahmatullahi Ta'ala, he once went to meet Sayyidina Asim bin Yusuf Muhaddis, Rahmatullahi Ta'ala. And Sayyidina Asim bin Yusuf, Rahmatullahi Ta'ala, asked him, "Oh Hatim, do you offer your salah properly?" And he replied in the affirmative and said, "Yes." Then he was asked, "How? Tell me, how do you offer your salah?" Listen to this, views of Madani Channel. He replied, and listen to this: "When the time for salah comes, I perform my wuzu completely and in an extremely proper manner." First point, our wuzu. We mentioned our namaz. Have we ever thought about our wuzu? Is our wuzu correct? In the same way that mistakes can come into our namaz, what about the mistakes coming into our wuzu? He then goes on to say, "When the time of salah comes, I step on the prayer mat and stand in such a manner that each joint of my body properly adjusts to its place. I then imagine, Allahu Akbar, I then imagine that the Holy Kaaba is between both of my eyebrows, and Maqam Ibrahim is in front of my chest. Then, having this belief in my heart that Allah Azza wa Jal is aware of my apparent condition and all my hidden thoughts in my heart, I stand in a way as if my feet are in Sirat, on the bridge of Sirat, and paradise is to my left, paradise is to my right, and the hellfire is to my left. And Malakul Maut, the angel of death, is behind me. And I feel as if this salah is the last salah of my life. After this, I recite Takbir Tarima with extreme sincerity. And then I recite the Holy Quran with extreme concentration and contemplation. Then I perform ruku and sujood with utmost humbleness and in a beseeching manner. And in the same way, I offer the entire salah with extreme humility and presence of the heart." Having heard this, Sayyidina Asim, Rahmatullah Ta'ala, asked him, "Oh Hatim, do you really offer salah always and every time in this same manner?" And he replied, "Yes, I've been offering every salah of mine always and every time in the same manner for 30 years. Allahu Akbar. Can we even claim to do one namaz like that? Ask yourself. Can we even claim that we've read one namaz in our life with utmost concentration, utmost humility, utmost humbleness, with this mindset that this could be my last namaz? And then imagine that if you could do that, You can have the mindset to do that, not once, not twice, not 5 times, but for 30 years. What do you need inside yourself to achieve that? What do we need to find to become in that state? We need to be aware that Allah Azza wa Jalla is watching us. We need to be aware that we're going to be held accountable for every one of our actions. We need to be aware that we're going to be rewarded for the good and punished for the bad. And in performing the good, we need to be aware that if the good is not performed properly, then there'll be no reward. Even to the extent that if the good is not performed properly, then there is a chance that rather than being rewarded, we may be punished. And unless we can develop that mindset, if we can develop that mindset of being aware of our actions, not just during our namaz, because we're talking about our namaz today, but throughout our whole lives, being aware, being self-aware that, it's not just me, myself, and I. I'm living my life, but every single thing that I'm doing is being recorded. Allah Azza wa Jalla is watching every single thing that I do. I will be held accountable for every single thing that I've done. Every penny that I've earned, every morsel that I've ate, every place that I've gone, everything I've done, I will be held accountable for. Every sentence that I spoke, I will be held accountable for. Until we can develop that mindset. Yeah. And I'm not asking you now here to donate thousands of pounds. I'm asking you to change how we think. And as Muslims, that's what we need to develop inside ourselves. We may look like Muslims. We may have the beard. We may have the Imam Sharif. We may have the white kurta. We may eat halal food. We may refrain from haram food. We may read our namaz. We may fast during the month of Ramadan. We may pay our zakat. We may go on the Hajj. But do we think like a Muslim? Do we have that mindset of a Muslim? But unfortunately, it's not there at the moment. And we talk about this extensively, that our mindset is such that we talk about the pound sign, the dollar sign, the euro sign. We talk about this visa, that plot, this plot. We talk about all of those things. And we think about all of those things. How can we make more? How can we make more, not good reward, not good deeds, but more money? Rather, what we should be thinking about is how can we attain more reward? How can we attain more blessings? How can we refrain from more sins? What do I need to do to improve myself? You improve yourself economically. You improve yourself academically. But do you improve yourself spiritually? You realize that if I go away and learn this, I'll be able to earn a little bit more money. If I get experience on this, if I sit with these people, I'll learn something from them. There may be people that think to themselves, you know what, I could be a cameraman. Okay, what I'll do is I'll contact Madani Channel and I'll say, look, I'll give you my time free of charge. I'll give you my time free of charge. Let me sit with the camera and let me learn. Why? Why do you want to learn? So that your future will be bright, so that you can learn something, you can make something out of yourself. In the same way people sit with mechanics, they sit with other people where they can pick things up off and learn things off them. Why do you not sit with the pious people that you can learn something off them so you can have a better future? And the future that you're talking about by sitting with these technical people, by sitting with these people that have trades, that have professions, these people that you sit with to acquire that knowledge, the reward is temporary. Yes, there will be a reward in this dunya. You may earn more money, but even then there's no guarantee. You can become the best mechanic, the best plumber, the best electrician. There's no guarantee you will earn money. But I will guarantee you that if you do not read your namaz properly, you'll be questioned and you may be punished. And if you read your namaz properly, you will be rewarded. That is a guarantee. And I'm not giving you that guarantee. Who am I to give you that guarantee? The Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is giving that guarantee. So viewers of Madani Channel, think and reflect. Where am I going? What am I doing? What is my namaz like? What is my wuzu like? What is my Quran like? What are all these things like? The obligatory knowledge that we should have. What is my state? And we mentioned before, and I'll mention it again, that nowadays people are getting blood tests, they're getting tests done to see if they've got this virus, this illness, that illness. What about that spiritual test? To find out what is our spiritual state. When was the last time we had a check? We check our cholesterol, we check our sugar levels, we check our iron levels, potassium, whatever other levels we check, our vitamin C levels. But what about our iman levels? Have you ever had that checked? Someone once said to me that You know, if you want to measure the temperature, you have a thermometer. If you want to measure the speed of your car, you have a speedometer. Yeah? So it's basically the thing that you're measuring followed by meter, thermometer, speedometer. And he said to me that we should have an imanometer, something that can measure our iman. Yeah? A meter that measures our iman. So we know where we are going, because when you look at the speedometer, you look how fast you're going. When you look at the thermometer, you realize how much the temperature is high or low. What about an imanometer? And he said to me, he says, one of the ways that you can measure your iman on that imanometer is whether you get up for Fajr or not. And if you get up for your Fajr, then the imanometer starts to go up. You read Zohar, it starts to go up. Asr, Maghrib, Isha, starts to go up. But if you don't, the imanometer starts to go down. And it goes further down. And in the same way, we see these instruments start to fail because they've not been utilized in such a time. Then our imanometer starts to fail and starts to go down and starts to freeze. And Allah forbid we get to that stage where our iman or meter is broken. Our iman is broken and we lose our iman. Viewers of Madani Channel, the purpose of today's program is not to scare you as such. The purpose of today's program is to make us aware of where we are. Make us aware of what we should be doing. Make us aware of what we should not be doing. And to look at ourselves and reflect. And I'm doing the same. I'm sitting here, I'm talking to you. And every day that I sit here and talk to you, I don't see you in front of me. I'm looking at a camera right now. I don't see you in front of me. But I see myself in front of me. So when I'm talking to you, I'm talking to myself as well. And that's what we all need to do. That talk to ourselves and say to ourselves, what is my state? Where am I going? What am I doing? Pray for me, pray for yourself, pray for others as well. That we all, and I sincerely pray, Ya Allah Azza wa Jal, all the Muslims that are around the world right now, Ya Allah Azza wa Jal, I ask thee, I beg thee, Ya Allah, I beg thee, Ya Allah, that every Muslim dies within a state of Iman. Ameen. But for that, viewers of my channel, we need to do our part. So please make a change in your life. Don't wait for tomorrow. Don't wait for Friday. Don't wait for Ramadan. The change is today. Make a change today so we can have a better tomorrow. Viewers of Madani Channel, you've been watching Rise and Shine. Keep watching Madani Channel. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
By the grace of Allah, by the grace of Allah, even the darkest night will end, and the sun